it's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on Sports Grid.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on Sports Grid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only on Sports Grid.
Hello and welcome to a Thursday Live right here on the Early Line on Sports Grid and all across the Sports Grid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. A Thursday that, of course, begins a new week in the National Football League. Week number 12 kicks off tonight in what might be an ugly and nasty weather scene in Cleveland, Ohio, in front of the Dog Pound, an AFC North rivalry between the Browns and the streaking Steelers, who have won 5 games in a row and sit atop the division at 8-2. We'll preview Thursday Night Football from every single angle to get you set for week number 12 and all the news and notes that you need around the National Football League. We'll go around the association. 8 games last night in the NBA. What is happening to Donnie's 76ers? Some college basketball news and a college football preview for the second to last weekend of this regular season. 3 hours DRS, hardly enough time.
It's not enough time, but I love to see it here. Checking the rundown. All NFL, all the time. Hour number 1. Let's get after it, baby, and talk some football, BSS. Yeah. Come on, it's Football Thursday, man. Let's go. Let's get after it.
So, I got to build the optimism, the hype, and all the excitement for a new week because we will focus on football. And oftentimes, I have no idea what you are going to say in first response to me leading off the show. That was really good. That caught me off guard. We'll get to some football, but first, some basketball recaps from the night that was on a Wednesday around the association, including Donnie's Philadelphia 76ers, now 2-12, despite being booked as a 4-point road favorite in Memphis against the Grizzlies. Paul George, after a rough night and only about 17 minutes, exits with a knee injury again. Tyrese Maxey makes his return. He struggles to shoot the basketball. Joel Embiid even posted 35 points, and the 76ers lose by 6 as the Grizzlies hit 19 threes last night in the Grind City.
Yeah, that's my response to the Philadelphia 76ers start to the season 2-12. And yesterday, I was all across these airwaves loving the Philadelphia 76ers in a spot where you knew you were getting Tyrese Maxey back. He would be on a minutes restriction. We understand that. Jared McCain has been phenomenal. And if I just told you, Ben, before this game started, Joel Embiid is going to go for 35 points and 11 rebounds, 14 for 14 from the free throw line, and they're going to lose this game to the Memphis Grizzlies. This team is way too talented. I've never seen anything like this. A team this talented at 2-12, make it make sense. I can't do it.
20 minutes in Maxey's return. He had missed the previous 6 games for Philadelphia. 3 of 13 from the floor, 0 from 3. He only had 8 points. 2 points for Paul George, who exits again, re-aggravating the knee injury that sidelined him to start this season. Jared McCain continues to be a bright spot. 41 minutes and 20 points. Plenty more around the association in the non-football opening hour of the early line. A lot of scoring last night in the Valley. In fact, 260 combined points between the Knickerbockers and the Suns as New York goes on the road and wins 138-122 over Phoenix.
Look at that starting lineup. Hart, 19 points. Brunson, 36. Karl-Anthony Towns, 34. OG Anunoby, 14 points. And Mikal Bridges, 16 points here. This is one I got right yesterday. They were a heavy public side despite laying 5 points on the road to Phoenix. I just thought it was a great spot for the Knicks, and they hammered the Suns 138-122. Good performance by the Knicks on the road.
223.5 that total. Its skies way over. New York now has won 4 consecutive games. 1,217. That's the number of career victories for Gino Auriemma, the now all-time winningest head coach in Division I college basketball history, as his second-ranked Connecticut Huskies last night knock off Fairleigh Dickinson 85-41. Auriemma now the winningest head coach ever, DRS, in the history of college hoops.
You know, we do birthdays like in dog years and human years here. If we equate those 1,200 wins in women's basketball, that's what, 468 wins in men's basketball. So that's what happened with the pantheon here, Ben. How about that, Ben? How about that? Does that sound about right?
God.
Yeah, it does.
Can't even celebrate a little bit of greatness for one of the greatest to ever do it. 88% win percentage. The trajectory to get to 1,217, astronomical. Only one top 25 tilt last night in men's college basketball. Alabama's second consecutive game against a Big Ten foe after losing on Friday night inside Mackey Arena against Purdue. They bounced back at home in Tuscaloosa, scoring 100 against Illinois. 100-87, the Crimson Tide rolls last night over the Illini.
One thing you know about Alabama basketball, tempo, and more tempo, Ben. They play a fun brand of basketball. 100-87. Sign me up for more of these games throughout the season, no doubt about it.
Alabama covers as an 8.5-point favorite. Total in the mid-160s, which is pretty high. Even where it stands pregame for college hoops does go over. Some practice video yesterday out of the New York Giants. Daniel Jones on the practice field, of course, no longer the starting quarterback for the Giants, but not even the backup quarterback or the third-string emergency quarterback, listed as the fourth quarterback, at least with what the eye could see yesterday. But it looked like he was having a great time, understanding he's making $40 million to not have to play football for a 2-8 football team.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is the big winner here. You don't even have to study at this point. You're never getting in a football game. Why don't they just send him home at this point where he just has to write his name down like he's in attendance and then can leave for the rest of the day, get some lunch, and hang out in New York City? That's what I'd be doing. Also, how about Drew Lock, who's the backup quarterback, who's no longer the backup quarterback, who's supposed to play when the starter goes down? He gets pushed down here. Joe Shane, fantastic. Brian Dable, fantastic. I don't know what kind of clown car you're running up there in New York, but my goodness, it's a bad look.
The G-Men, a 5.5-point home underdog on Sunday in MetLife against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, I once saw Daniel Jones going out on a date 2 summers ago in the East Village of New York City.
Wow. Give me an idea here. Who, a famous person he was with? Who was he with?
No, I don't know.
How'd you know it was a date?
Not to my knowledge. You could tell. They were holding hands. He was tall, man.
Oh.
He was really, really tall. It wasn't...
Yeah.
Nah, we're not. I don't know if we can get.
Come on now, dip
it
into
wasn't
it.
anybody.
Style. Come on.
Come on, we're a FanDuel show. I'm not sure I can say anything else.
Another
San Francisco
FanDuel?
49ers injury news as we get you set for week number 12. Of course, San Francisco, the preseason short favorites to win the NFC Championship, struggling at an even 500, 5-5. George Kittle, missing the previous game for the Niners at home against the Seahawks, says that he expects to play on Sunday for San Francisco. They need everybody out there that they can possibly have.
No, yeah, hamstring injuries. Everybody expects to play the next day. I just cramped up. It was nothing bad here. Oh, hey, how did your hamstring feel? Feels absolutely fantastic early in the week. We'll see how that cramping comes to Sunday, because the chances of George Kittle playing well on a hamstring injury, I ain't buying into it here. He might play. Doesn't mean he's playing well.
Dr. Donnie on the prognosis. The Niners right now booked as a slight underdog at Lambeau against the Packers. It would be the first game since 2022 San Francisco was catching any amount of points. And as expected yesterday, DRS, Chris Sale wins the National League Cy Young Award, a sensational debut season in Atlanta. Tarek Skubal, the Cy Young winner in the American League for the Detroit Tigers.
Congratulations, Major League Baseball. Nobody cares this late in the season or past the season that you vote on Cy Youngs and MVPs. We don't care. We don't.
More on the early lineup next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on Sports Grid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Around the association we go in this opening hour of a Thursday on the early line on Sports Grid. It has not been a great start to the 2024-25 NBA season for the Philadelphia 76ers, who entered the year in the Eastern Conference with the third best price to maybe, just maybe, finally get past the second round of the NBA postseason and perhaps contend for an Eastern Conference crown? The answer so far, a resounding no. The play on the floor, atrocious. The drama in the locker room, not great either. And with Tyrese Maxey, DRS, returning to the lineup last night for Philadelphia, you had Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and the emerging rookie star in Jared McCain, all in the starting lineup for Nick Nurse in Philadelphia. Finally, right? Finally, a win would be had. The Sixers booked as a 4-point road favorite in Memphis. Psych! Paul George leaves early, re-aggravating the knee injury. Tyrese Maxey looks like he forgot how to play basketball. And despite 35 points and 11 boards from Joel Embiid, the Sixers lose outright as a 4-point road favorite in the Grind City as the Grizzlies are victorious 117-111.
Take away the X and O's yesterday, right? You see the Philadelphia 76ers in a bad loss on South Beach. You say to yourself, all right, what has to get better here? Finally, you let it breathe. Calling out teammates, let's get it together. Let's get some fight in the room. Starting lineup coming back here, which included Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid. Even though we know Maxey hasn't played in a while and was going to be on a minutes restriction against an injured Grizzlies team, that they're okay. This looked like it was one of those final spots where you put your stake in the ground and say, it's time to start winning and showing up here, because the team from last year to this year is so been much more talented this year than it was last year. It's incredible. You look at the starting lineup, all-stars all the way across. You look at the bench, fortified, who can actually get solid minutes out of not 1, 2, or 3, but 4 or 5 different guys. You go into the draft this year, and a questionable draft pick to many was Jared McCain.
Yeah.
Looks like he might be the rookie of the year. I'm not understanding a 2-12 start to the season, but Donnie, Joel Embiid hasn't been there. I get that. But there's been times over Joel Embiid's career in Philadelphia where he hasn't played for long stretches, and the Sixers are still competitive, at least being a 500 basketball team. I saw last night as that spot, even the odds makers opened up a -1 point favorite for Memphis, which swung over to the Philadelphia 76ers as high as 4.5 points at game time. And they came out with that effort, and Joel Embiid played 35 minutes and scored 35 points at 11 boards, and they still lost. It doesn't make sense. And Paul George, I understand he's injured, 17 minutes and 2 points, starting to come into his own last couple games, 20 points, 19 points. You get the picture here. Now coming in with Joel Embiid and Maxey, and he's down with an injury that they don't know how long it's going to be. I'm flummoxed here by the Philadelphia 76ers. I just can't make heads or tails right now.
And Donnie, I think that's really well said, right? Because we know the regular season at times in the NBA is not critically important. If Philadelphia starting in January figures things out and looks like the team we expected them to, they might not be the 3 seed or the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. They might have to be in the play-in tournament, but there's still a chance for playoff success. You just haven't necessarily set yourself up in the best position. That's understandable. But you would think, even with the injuries to JoJo and Paul George to start this year, that they could get closer to 500 than having the NBA's worst record at the moment. Worse than the Washington Wizards at the moment at 2-12. And last night, it felt from the odds makers' expectation that this is where it was going to flip. It was just the 5th time this season Philadelphia was booked as a favorite. Now 1-4 straight up, and 0-5 against the spread. Not only 2-12 straight up, just 3-11 ATS. They're not even competitive in those games, DRS, where it's been just Jared McCain, where they're expected to lose and they can't even cover a number to keep it remotely competitive. Meanwhile, Memphis now 5-1 against the spread as an underdog this year. Last night's total, 225 in a hook, does go over in 5 of those 6 games for the Grizzlies as an underdog. Great three-point shooting last night, better than 44% from deep for this Grizzlies team. They hit a season-high 19 three-pointers last night. And to your point, DRS, again, Joel Embiid, 35 minutes, 35 points, 11 boards. Tyrese Maxey's first game since November 6th. He had missed the previous 6 for the 76ers entering last night. And, of course, a lot of focus on the 2 stars for Philadelphia after the reports of the locker room meeting where Maxey called out Embiid for his effort and his timeliness and his routine. Tyrese Maxey, 3 of 13, 0 of 6 from deep. Sure, he had missed some time, not like multiple months. That wasn't pretty last night either.
No, it wasn't. And he's going to take some time to get back in rhythm. We fully understand that. But this was one of those games where, again, it was outside the X's and O's. I thought this was the perfect spot for the Sixers to jumpstart their season. And the one thing I did bet on, which worked last night, was a Joel Embiid double-double. If you're going to get called out as the franchise guy by one of the young guys on the team, you knew what was going to take place the next game. Coach, no minutes restriction on me. I'm playing this game, and I'm going to be aggressive. And he was. So it is surprising that Embiid played fairly well in this game, and they still lost. Because wasn't that what we were waiting for? Just let Joel Embiid play well. The Sixers are a good basketball team. And again, the bench is good. The starting lineup is fantastic. They're just not playing it out that way. 2-12 to start the season, 1-7 now on the road. Unacceptable at this point. And now you start to look, is Paul George ever going to come back to this lineup? If Maxey is right and Embiid is right, they will be fine, meaning they're going to make the playoffs. But again, last night was that night I thought they were going to put it all together, come away with a victory. And who cares in the next 2 to 3 games what they did? I thought last night was a referendum game on the Sixers. Like, we're here, we're angry, we cleared the air in the room, now let's play basketball. Yeah. And they still got beat.
And they got beat bad, and they lost outright as a road favorite. First loss of the year for the Cleveland Cavaliers on Tuesday in NBA Cup action against the reigning champs in the Celtics. How do the Cavaliers bounce back? Winning by 28 points at home against New Orleans G League lineup. That number 1 jersey of Zion Williamson not out there for a while. 128-100. Our producer, Joe Friezo's high school classmate, DRS, Ty Jerome, career-high 29 points, burying 7 triples last night for Cleveland.
Yeah, it was one of those games where you wondered how Cleveland would respond, but if you need a perfect opponent to play, it would be the Pelicans. Look like they've already... Pelicans are 4-12, a better record than the Sixers. Without a horrible team, my goodness.
They are really, really bad at 4-12 to Donnie's point. More around the NBA and college hoops next.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Fortunately, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
A lot of points last night in Phoenix between the New York Knicks and the Suns. The Suns shorthanded at home, booked as a 5-point home underdog with a total of 223.5 It went over by more than 35 points, 260 combined between the two teams. The Knickerbockers winning 138-122. 4 consecutive wins, DRS, for New York, booked as a favorite in all 4. They have covered in 2 of those 4, but in their 9 victories now this year, 7 covers in those 9 wins. The Suns, on a slide, shorthanded, have dropped 5 straight, but New York, a big victory last night and a great offensive showing out of the Knicks in Phoenix.
Yeah, they should just be able to overpower teams like Phoenix. Say, well, Phoenix has good players. Yeah, when they're healthy at that point. Also, Phoenix, Devin Booker dropped 33 points. He had a double-double out of Tyus Jones and also a double-double out of Yusuf Nurkic, and you still couldn't even come close. Why? Because that firepower in the starting 5 was absolutely on it last night in the desert. 138 points for the Knicks. Anti-Tibbs, right? He probably liked that around 115 and hold your opponent to under 100 points. But let the big dogs eat out there, and they're going to eat for the Knicks. Now looking like is one of those teams where you say you have to have some time to gel. You got to play with each other. Looks like they're actually starting to play well and ingratiate each. Look, 19, 36, 34, 14, and 16 out of your starting lineup. You're going to beat a lot of basketball teams with those type of numbers.
Yeah, a big win for New York. All 5 starters scoring at least 14 points. And when you look at New York, you want to see what Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns did an evening ago. Each a 30-plus point double-double, 34 and 10 for Cat. 36 and 10, those being assists for Jalen Brunson. Big win for New York. By the way, Phoenix, an underdog in all 5 of these losses consecutively, 0-5 against the spread. The Los Angeles Clippers, at home in the Intuit Dome, for the 10th time already this year. They lost their first 4 games in that new arena, and now they've won 6 in a row, even last night, as a slight home underdog against the Orlando Magic, a 3.5-point dog. The Clippers win outright by 11, 104-93. Dome sweet dome, home sweet home. There in Inglewood, Steve Ballmer has the Clippers up to no good.
Yeah, how about that? And also, the offense up to no good last night. We were talking about it yesterday, myself and Dubs, at the 206 numbers, the total, thinking it could have been an error. Nah, 216, 226, 236. That game lived up to the expectations at 104-93. They were on pace in the first half, but the bottom fell out on both of these teams in the second half. But the Clippers able to hold a victory there. The Magic 9-7, the Clippers 9-7, and away we go. Bad game.
DRS, your guy, Norman Powell, did not play last night.
No, he didn't.
Probably why some of the offensive numbers for the Clips not all that great. 104-93, staying under that low total that closed around 204 and a hook. Orlando, one of the hottest teams in the association entering. They had won 6 consecutive games, covering in all 6, under in all 6. Under last night for a 7th straight game, but of course that win streak was snapped. The Clippers have covered in 5 of 6 of these home victories in a row, under in 5 of 6 as well. Golden State has not often been at home this year in San Francisco. Last night, just home game number 6, hosting the Atlanta Hawks. But it was nice to see the Warriors back in San Fran. Big victory over Atlanta, 120-97. The Dubs cover as an 8-point home favorite, 239, a very lofty total. That's what happens when you play Atlanta. Stays well under as the Hawks don't even reach the century mark.
No, it's pretty tamed effort here by the Golden State Warriors starting lineup because they got a lot of points off the bench as well and a lot of spread out scoring. But if you want to focus on Steph Curry, how about 30 minutes there? Efficiency, 7 of 10 from the floor, which included 4 of 6 from three-point range, 5 of 5 from the free throw line for 23 points. And then Wiggins chips in with 27. It's one of those teams where you sort of forget about when you enter the season. The dynasty is past them. They're playing great basketball, as you said. 5-1 at home, 11-3 now in the season. Watch out for the Golden State Warriors. They just play a good brand of basketball right now.
50 combined points out of Wiggins and Steph. 7 combined made threes. How about Trace Jackson Davis? 14 points and 11 boards. They used to say Indiana was a basketball school. I'm not so sure anymore. The Atlanta Hawks, DRS, who had been an awful cover team for the last year and a half, 2 years in the NBA, had covered in 4 straight games as an underdog entering last night. Of course, not covering, losing by more than 20 as an 8-point road dog. Quick question, DRS. Do you remember who the number 1 pick in the 2024 NBA draft was?
No, I don't. Who was it?
Zachary Richard.
Yeah,
there it is.
One of those.
Say it.
Yeah.
What is that? Worcestershire?
Reece
Worcestershire. Reece
That guy didn't play.
He had
in the NBA?
double digits last night in the starting lineup.
Wow.
More on the early line next.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, it's going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Fortunately, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
The NFL in week number 12 kicks on. No, not yet. We got to talk some college basketball on this Thursday.
When's
before
the
we
season
get
start?
What?
When's college basketball season start? Because I didn't get my magazines yet or anything. Like, I can't wait for it. I really can't.
It's starting to get better. In this next week, when we get to Feast Week and some of the non-conference tournaments that are big, I think Donnie Rightside will be watching a little bit, right?
Yeah, FanDuel's got to give us some nice little odds boost there for these type of tournaments too, to try to get down and have some fun. Because I'm in the season of I need to start learning these basketball teams. But the NFL is so ingrained in my head right now that I am catching up. But again, Rutgers, like Ace Bailey, a local product here for us here in New Jersey, really enjoying the Rutgers season to see how they can do. The fact we can't bet on them in New Jersey is absolutely ridiculous. And I can't take Ace Bailey double props. Stop the madness. But yeah, we're starting to learn about these basketball teams. At least I am at this point.
And I think you will start to learn, and then come the end of January with about 3 weeks left in the regular season, DRS will dive into the team totals, and that's when it gets good. You know what they say, DRS? It's not how long you're here for. What's that saying?
Yeah.
I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. That's DRS betting college basketball team totals because he really narrows in, and that's when he is at his handicapping best. You might think I'm saying that in jest. I'm not. He's really good when it comes to team totals deeper into conference play. But a great non-conference matchup last night between Alabama and Illinois. Top 25 tilt, second consecutive game for the Tide against a Big Ten foe. After losing in Mackey on Friday night against Purdue, they bounced back, scoring 100 points and winning by 13 against the Illini. Alabama covers as an 8.5-point favorite. 168.5 was the total. By college basketball standards, that is a very lofty number, and it still goes well over. Alabama under in every game against non-power conference competition. But, Donnie, against the best of the best in a matchup between two Elite Eight teams from a season ago, we are going to see that Alabama offense start to be on the uptick over against Purdue, over against Illinois, and a big victory for Alabama still in the top 10.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get to, even out of the best teams. But you're playing in a, let's just say, an arena that both of these teams aren't there on a neutral court. Both of these teams still made double-digit three-point shots, which is pretty impressive. And to have the game hit 187 points there in an arena that both of these teams aren't necessarily familiar with, you like to see that. And also, how about the first half? Sometimes these games start a little bit slower. Not the case here. 52 points Alabama in the first half that really set the tone. But Alabama's one of those teams you have fun with. And again, when we talk about betting teams and team totals and three-point totals and props here, you love teams that get up around 70, 80, 90, and 100 points every single game. That's what Alabama tries to provide you. So it was an entertaining game early, but I like the fact that both of these teams were able to shoot the ball well. 45% there for Illinois, 52% for Alabama on a neutral court. I like that.
And DRS, when you look at the box score last night for Alabama, their All-American guard, Mark Sears, 0 of 5 from the floor, 0 of 4 from deep, 0 points. And Alabama still scores 100. Grant Nelson, 4 made triples, 23 points. The guy that, if you remember from the NCAA tournament, does a little bit of everything. 23 points, 8 boards, 2 dimes, 1 steal, 4 blocks. Did it all last night for the Crimson Tide in the Auburn transfer. Hearsay to go from Auburn to Alabama. Aiden Holloway, 18 points off the bench. Speaking of 18 points from a bench scorer, Will Riley, the freshman star from Canada, from Ontario for Illinois, 18 points as well. He is going to be a star this year for the Illini. Not a bad effort out of Brad Underwood's team on the road, or technically neutral site in Birmingham. Not expected to win the game, did not cover the number, but still a good test early in the season for the Illini. Elsewhere around college basketball on a Wednesday night. Number 3, Gonzaga, 43-point victory against Long Beach State, 84-41. The Zags cover as a 33.5-point favorite. DRS, here was the interesting game of top 25 teams against non-power conference competition last night. Texas A&M and Southern, 25.5-point favorite. The Aggies at home. Okay, they won by 17. Yeah. They didn't really cover the number, but still won decisively. They were trailing by 14 points, 39-25 at the halftime break before they outscored Southern by 31, 46-15 in the second half.
Yeah, that would have been a tough one. We would have got the tweets out there that tough to lose a bye game here. The epitome of brutality, I believe, is the quote on that one. That's tough because you're right about that. I wonder how many people jumped in at the half figuring Texas A&M was down 14 and what that live line was at that point, because probably Texas. What was did we know what the opening line was in that game? Was it 17
25
points?
25 and a half in favor of Texas A&M,
That's to be favored by 25.5 and down by 14 points at the break. That's absolutely incredible here. But good comeback from Texas, because that would have been an embarrassing loss to the Jags.
Now, if I was scrolling the FanDuel Sportsbook, I might have seen that number. I was not at the time. If we want to put on our odds makers hats quickly, Southern, 25.5-point dog, up by 14 at the break, 39-25. What do you think that live line was? Like A&M still laying 10.5, 11.5?
It probably would have to be at that. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same line to open the game where you just do the math on that. But but by the way, I would have thought the way Texas A&M played, they probably weren't even going to win that basketball game, let alone win it by 17. So that's a pretty impressive second half against anybody, 46-15. That's pretty good.
Yeah, really good second half. Wade Taylor the fourth still there for Buzz Williams. That is a good sign for A&M. Penn State was trailing at the half against Purdue Fort Wayne. They come back to win 102-89. Mike Rhodes' team, they can score some hoops, and they have needed to at times because the defense hasn't been all that great. You mentioned the epitome of brutality. Va Tech loses a bye game to Jacksonville, 74-64. And DRS, you talked about Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, the very talented freshman for Rutgers, 24 points, 10 boards last night. His freshman classmate, Dylan Harper, 14 points, 8 boards, 6 dimes. Lathan Somerville, the freshman big man off the bench, 9 points as well and 2 blocks for Steve Peichel and the Scarlet Knights. Donnie, those 3 freshmen combined for, let me do the quick math, 46 of the 74 points that Rutgers scored, nobody else scored more than 7. Rutgers does not have a freshman problem, but perhaps an upperclassman experience and depth problem where it only gets more difficult for Rutgers moving forward. The Scarlet Knights inside the top 25, number 24 in the country. They are perfect at 4-0, but did not cover as an 18.5-point home favorite in the RAC last night against Merrimack.
Yeah, those young kids will get much, much better as the season progresses. Also, I need 2 things here, right, Ben, out of this conversation for Rutgers. Number one, we need to be able to bet on them in New Jersey. I have no idea what type of asinine laws that people put in who have no idea how betting actually works here, so we can't bet on Rutgers, where they would actually benefit as a state program here, and the state would benefit itself. Let's remove that, too. And also, Jersey Mike's Arena, we're not buying that. Jersey Mike, do the right thing. Come out with a press conference today. We're still going to pay Rutgers money, but it's going to be Jersey Mike's Arena at the RAC, or the RAC sponsored by Jersey Mike's Arena. How about this?
Yeah.
It's the RAC, or it's Jersey Mike's Arena court, where you can just splash your logo on the court. Stop the madness with that. This is always going to be the RAC. Keep it that way.
100%. I'm all about taking your money, taking your licensing deal. Jersey Mike's with the state pride of the Garden State makes perfect sense to me. I will never. You know when they put out those tweets, it's like, if I'm taken hostage, if I say this, if you ever hear me say Rutgers gets a win in Jersey Mike's Arena, it means please come help me. I will never, ever call it anything but the Rutgers Athletic Center or the RAC. Never.
I mean, you got the RAC, you got Cameron Indoor. I mean, legendary institution like Rose Hill there for Fordham. Like, we're not changing the names of that. How can the RAC not be a thing anymore? Stop. It's always going to be the RAC. Let's keep it.
Here on the early line, it is always the RAC. I still think a lot of Rutgers faithful calls it the RAC as well.
1,000%.
National championship odds, Connecticut, the favorite at 10-1. They are 4-0. They have won every game by at least 35 points. And Dan Hurley still ain't happy. You got your wish. NFL talk next.
Yeah.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the 2 big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Quarterly, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma will do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
Live right here on the early line in this opening hour. It is now time to talk some football to set the stage for week number 12 of this 2024 NFL regular season. Only 7 weeks remaining in the National Football League in the regular season to determine everything. For some, that could mean trying to hunt down a divisional championship, a wild card berth, a playoff spot. For others, it's already figuring out what is in store for 2025 and beyond in perhaps your draft position to select a new quarterback. That's the story in New York because Daniel Jones now on the bench, not the backup Drew Lock, who they paid $5 million to this offseason, stepping up and in. Tommy Cutlets will have some more shine once again for the G-Men. Tommy DeVito named the starter. But Daniel Jones, DRS, not the backup, not second string, not the emergency third string quarterback, as video showed at practice yesterday. And then Brian Daboll, Giants head coach, told the media afterward, the Giants haven't decided if Danny Dimes or Tim Boyle, who the Giants signed to the practice squad earlier this week, will be quarterback number 3. Meaning there is a legitimate chance that the guy making $40 million per year might be quarterback number 4 for this Giants team. The caption that we had up there for the quote graphic, DRS, is yikes. From a Giants perspective, what a mismanagement of this entire situation dating back to 2 off seasons ago that could cost Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll their jobs. For Daniel Jones, the opposite of yikes. Pay me my money and I'll go goof off at practice.
Let's understand something here with New York professional football right now. The Jets are a mess, and they're making amends for it here. The owner's a mess, but the owner's never going to get fired. He blew out the head coach, didn't think he was right for the job. Whether or not he was, we'll never know. The general manager, who's had a bad record over the past couple years with drafting wonderful player after wonderful player and somehow not working out, he has been removed from his job. So then I look across the hall, let's just say, to the Giants and say, all right, looks like we're trying to get some stability here. Okay, who's going to lead us into the next couple years of this team as we might be looking for yet another rebuild on the Giants? Let me get this straight if I'm an owner right here, Ben. I'm going to want Joe Schoen to lead this where he signed a player for so much money that is so bad that your only worry is if he plays any more football and gets injured, we're going to owe this quarterback more money the following season. But yet Joe Schoen still has a job in New York. Like let that sink in. How do you explain that to your boss? We're going to pay this guy $40 million a year. But you know what's going to be awesome? I'm going to make a contract so good for us that when he stinks, and we know he's going to stink, after 2 years we can get out from it. And then while you're in technically that second year, the quarterback is so bad and you sign him to so much money that you can't even afford him basically to practice, let alone get into a game when you know he's probably the best quarterback on the team to try to help you lead in said games here. But yet we still have that head coach in Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen still being employed. It doesn't make sense. It just goes to show you one of the best run organizations in football for like 50 years is now the laughingstock and on the Cleveland Browns level of ownership and management now.
The Tom Coughlin days are far, far gone. From Ben McAdoo to Pat Shurmur to Joe Judge and now to Brian Daboll. DRS.
Yeah.
DRS. You are an Eagles fan. You mentioned that when the Giants decided after the 2022 season, by far Danny Dimes is best of his career and that upset playoff victory on the road in Minneapolis against the Vikings, to pay him. You said, as an Eagles fan, in the conversation around South Jersey and Philadelphia was, they did it. Those freaking idiots did it. Fantastic. Because your initial thought was, this Brian Daboll guy can coach. He leads them to a playoff win. He wins NFL Coach of the Year in his first year as an NFL head coach. So now I ask you this question. You talk about the future because that's really what it is for the Giants. The Jags don't have an updated win total on the FanDuel Sportsbook at this moment. They technically have the worst record, 2-9. But the Giants, one of 4 other teams at 2-8, and have the lowest win total remaining at 3.5. on FanDuel. Even if the Jags do have the number 1 overall pick, they're probably going to shop it because they're not going to select a quarterback, meaning the Giants will be in a prime position to take a quarterback of the future. You just said, who are going to be the guys to usher in this new era? Is it Brian Daboll as the head coach with a new GM? That doesn't seem to be the recipe. Will Joe Schoen and Daboll get the benefit of the doubt to remain for another year to select their quarterback and move this franchise forward? DRS, what do you think happens? Will Schoen and Daboll be back? What do you want as an Eagles backer?
Yeah, look, I want them both back if I'm an Eagles backer. I don't want the Giants to sell. I don't want, the Tisch family to take more control. I want the Maras running this because they're horrendous at what they do now, and that front office to stay intact. Now, having said that, let's roll back a couple years. Dave Gettleman was the worst general manager I've ever seen. Laughed at him. I was upset when he got fired. And I had no idea who Joe Schoen was. Like, you know what? He's way better than Dave Gettleman. I sit here now and say Dave Gettleman was a better general manager than Joe Schoen, and I'm not being facetious at this point either. Now, also, coming from Brian Daboll in Buffalo, loved him. He was my number one target. And the day the Giants signed him, I said, oh, no, this is going to be a problem for the rest of the NFC East because they got a legitimate head coach that can build up a quarterback. And you're right, Ben. You saw what he did that first year with Daniel Jones, and I said, oh, my God, when this guy gets a quarterback that he actually wants, watch out. And the fact that they all got in a room and said, you know what? Daniel Jones is our guy. That standing ovation was so loud you could probably hear it from East Coast to West Coast. Because the fact of the matter is, I love Daboll. I don't love him anymore. I don't even think he's a good coach. Because if you tell me right now that he agreed that Daniel Jones was a big money quarterback for him, then he's got to go as well. He's equally part of the problem with Mara and Joe Schoen. That's just where I sit on that whole thing. The Giants have to blow everything out. Coach, general manager, quarterback, and have a complete rebuild once again. You know where it starts? Just get a competent general manager. You had two of the worst general managers in the NFL over the past 20 years back to back. That'll crush any franchise.
And DRS, that was the conversation that we had here on this very program entering the year. It's not like the Giants' win total was 11.5 and they are so underperforming preseason. It was 6.5. So the question was, would Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen get the benefit of the doubt because they weren't the guys to draft Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley, but they were the guys in-house to pay Daniel Jones and watch Saquon head to Philadelphia. I don't think they're getting that benefit of the doubt. Plenty more conversation around the National Football League, including a former Giants quarterback, and Dr. Donnie puts on the smock next.
Together, both Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson had huge nights. Aaron Rodgers loves the two big targets, and he says if this is going to happen, going to be very tough on the defense to decide who they want to go after.
Adams and this kid, Wilson, I won't deny what they can do, but nobody else does jack.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on Sports Grid.
Grandma Bear, who owns the football team, probably comes in, gives a little, oh, man, you're such a good little boy out there. Congratulations, the way you coach this football team. I'm never going to fire you.
Totally, I missed you pinching your own cheek as I was looking down and did not know we were getting.
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there with that guy named Ben. Like, that's what your grandma would do to you when you go see her on Thanksgiving or Christmas,
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports Grid.
All right, Dr. Donnie has scrubbed in. He is ready to give you the diagnosis for George Kittle, who surprisingly missed last week's game at home for San Francisco, a huge NFC West divisional duel against the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, the Seahawks and Geno Smith, a late drive scoring a touchdown in the final 15 seconds of regulation to steal a victory on the road in Santa Clara. George Kittle was out for the game. Numerous defensive injuries, including Nick Bosa getting banged up midway through the game as well. It's been the story of the season for San Francisco, DRS. The countless injuries the 49ers have had to face. It's part of the reason they are 5-5. But George Kittle telling reporters yesterday at practice ahead of an old NFC rivalry renewed this week in Lambeau against Green Bay, quote, "I will be playing on Sunday. Very excited. Can't pass up playing the Packers. I will be out there for sure." End quote. Is George Kittle, Dr. Donnie, as good to go as he indicates that he is?
All right, he can be out there, like just from prior experience. My senior year in college, I tore my hamstring. I started every single game for 4 years, tore it. I missed one game and played the final 3 games of my senior year with a completely black left leg on the hamstring. I could barely hobble around. But you can be out there, that's true. How effective you're going to be, that's another story. And also, let's play the long game here. Do you know why he's coming back so quickly here? Look at the 49ers record. Look at who they're going to be playing over the next couple weeks. Every game is so paramount. You're telling me right now, instead of 5-5, and they were 8-2, George Kittle takes 2-3 weeks off and goes, you know what? I'll be back fully healthy for the playoff run. That's the issue I worry about, playing and continue to play through something that you probably shouldn't be doing. Even here in Philadelphia, Devontae Smith has been hobbled for a couple weeks with a hamstring injury, not practicing much during the week, trying to give it a go during game day. Look at his numbers here. The hamstring injury is so tough on an athlete with quick twitch, specifically tight ends and wide receivers. Yes, they can play, but come on now. If you're not running your routes at least 80%, what are you actually doing out there? So yes, I do believe George Kittle believes he's going to play. How effective he will be, that's another story.
Yeah, and that's really going to be the question, DRS. And they can ill afford to lose football games. But frankly, Donnie, this is a big one, right? All the divisional tiebreakers and conference tiebreakers and a rivalry, and you really can't put yourself behind the 8 ball falling to 5-6 in week number 12. But the Niners' best path is through the NFC West. In fact, every team in that division to win the division right now is paramount because 3 teams, including the Niners, Rams, and Seahawks, all 5-5. The Cardinals, the only team above 500 at 6-4. But here's what's really interesting. Knowing San Francisco's struggles and how injured they are on either side of the football, this would be the first time since the 2022 NFC Championship game as a very slight underdog in Philadelphia that the Niners would be booked as a dog, a favorite in every single game last year, including Super Bowl 58 against the Chiefs, a favorite in every single game this year as well. But the Niners will enter Green Bay, as of this moment, getting points against the Pack.
Still shows you how much respect that the odds makers are giving the San Francisco 49ers. Green Bay is a good football team. Green Bay is at home. And the fact that the Niners are coming in not playing good football and 500 and still only getting 1.5 points as opposed to 3.5 or 4 points, that shows you how still scared they are that the Niners can turn it on at any moment. But if we're being honest, once again, that Ayuk injury, we say, okay, they have plenty of other players here. That was a massive blow to that offense. And now you're saying Deebo Samuel can't step up as being that Swiss Army knife because you're focused more on him. And now George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in football, is hobbled by an injury. Christian McCaffrey coming back. He still doesn't look as explosive as he was. It's only normal that the San Francisco 49ers are going to take a downshift in this season, but the odds makers still keep propping them back up as if they should win the NFC East. They should be, NFC West, and they should be an NFC power. And also this weekend, legitimately probably should win this game. Only roughly a pick 'em, it feels like now in this game.
And DRS, the concern for me is not offensively for San Francisco. It's defensively to see if Nick Bosa is going to play or how effective he will be with the numerous other defensive injuries the Niners have. Now here's a conversation around a former Giants quarterback because Eli Manning, along with Luke Kuechly, Terrell Suggs, Earl Thomas, Adam Vinatieri, Marshall Yanda, are first-year eligible candidates among the 25 modern-era players who are semifinalists for the Hall of Fame's class of 2025. The age-old debate, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer or a first-ballot Hall of Famer? What does Donnie Rightside say?
If his name was Eli Smith, he doesn't make it into the Hall of Fame. Maybe makes it in 25 years with the veteran committee. And I'm not trying to slander Eli Manning. 17 and 117. When I think of the greatest players of all time, Eli doesn't pop up. And quite frankly, Eli was never the best quarterback in his division at any time throughout his career. It's not a Hall of Fame.
We'll continue that on the other side of the break. Hour 2 next.